Hello everyone, this is day 2 of Watches and Wonders. Time is ticking, so let's dive straight into today's program. Welcome to the morning show of Watches and Wonders. I'm Olivia Chang, and every morning I'll be giving you a sneak peek into the world of watchmaking. For the next 30 minutes, we'll bring you everything you need to know for the day ahead. Lots in store for today, so grab a cup of coffee or tea, make yourselves at home, and most importantly, enjoy the show. Let's start off by taking a look at all the highlights and brand announcements from the big opening day.
After 3 years, it was a moment they had long awaited. With 38 brands and their CEOs under one roof, Watches and Wonders launched Wednesday as arguably the biggest planetary watch fair.
It's fantastic to have a physical get-together again, to feel the energy of the industry. You know, at the end of the day, we are in a relationship business. We are in a people business. So to do all of that remotely, yes, you can carry on fostering the contacts and the relationships you already have, but there's nothing quite like sitting face to face, breaking bread together, looking each other in the eyes and sharing a good time and sharing the latest trends and innovations.
Running till April 5th, Geneva's Watches and Wonders is not only expected to attract thousands more to its venue, but be digitally accessible to fans and collectors around the globe. The show got started with reflections on how the hiatus due to the pandemic had restored their visions.
Yes, it was difficult years. The pandemic really turned things upside down, and I think it gave all of us time to pause and to reflect about what's really important.
With its 24 historic brands and 14 independent watchmakers, the Salon will be filled with innovations, new trends and developments.
The overarching theme for us in Watches and Wonders is performance, reliability, quality and innovation. And actually, even if it can feel that we thought about sustainability, that was not necessarily the main purpose. Natural diamonds will become very sustainable. Lab-grown diamonds will be very sustainable too. It's going to be two different offers. And our approach there is to foster creativity, never seen before shapes and textures due to lab-grown diamonds.
As the watchmaking world's own fashion week, enthusiasts globally are certainly awaiting what every new day here will bring.
Now we're going to break this down even further very shortly. Now, I'm delighted to welcome Rachel Garahan. You're a journalist at LMC. We just got a sneak peek from yesterday, and it seems that there was so much energy buzzing around. Why don't you give us your impression from the first big day?
Well, first of all, I'm jewellery and watch director at British Vogue, and it was great to be back in Geneva at Watches and Wonders. I think the atmosphere was fantastic. People are really energised to be back together again and seeing so much creativity. And my favourite things yesterday, I would have to say, I think is the Cartier Coussin, which was a beautiful watch that really taps into Cartier's expertise with cases. They innovated a case that is entirely pavé in diamonds or coloured stones, and it is soft to the touch. Mm-hmm. So very unusual and no one else could do this like Cartier can.
How does it feel to be back in person? Because this is something that we're bringing everyone under one roof. We have these 38 maisons. What was it like to have that face-to-face connection finally?
Nothing is better than seeing people in the flesh and seeing watches in real life too, because we spent many months looking at things on Zoom and Teams and everything, but nothing brings the whole experience alive than being together.
And it's even great that we can even be sitting across from each other right now. So you mentioned the Cartier case, but I wanted to say there's lots going around. Tell me something else that maybe stood out to you or caught you by surprise.
Well, I cover jewellery as well, and the lab-grown diamond debate is raging in jewellery. And so it was very interesting to me to see a watch brand like Tag Heuer enter the debate and show a new way with lab-grown diamonds, as opposed to mined diamonds. So they sat back and decided, how can we do something with lab-grown diamonds that we can't do with mined diamonds? And I think that takes the debate to a whole new level. Sorry.
No, there's a lot to digest here at this event.
Yes. So they did their research and they created a polycrystalline diamond dial, which you couldn't do with a mined diamond, and this incredible 2.5 carat diamond crown. So it's great to see a brand like that doing something so fresh, and it will be interesting to see who follows.
Well, Rachel, thank you so much for joining us for that quick take, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of other fresh things that catch your eye today. So thank you so much. Now, more to come very soon. It's time now to take a view from the top, and I'm delighted to welcome Akio Naito, President of Seiko Watch Corporation. Now, he's joining with me now. Welcome to our morning show.
Well,
nice
good
and early.
morning, and thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for being here. So many of the maisons that are being showcased at Watches and Wonders, they are born out of Europe. What do you bring to the table as a Japanese luxury watch brand?
Okay, I think Japanese have some unique sense of aesthetics, and I can explain two examples. One is the appreciation and use of light and shadow. In the Japanese tradition, light and shadow are not two opposites or extremes, but there are numerous gradations between light and black. And the use of our technique in polishing and creating surface on a case side, that really represents our appreciation of light and shadow. That's one example. The other is seasons, changing seasons. Japan has 4 distinctive seasons, and that may not be unique to Japan, but Japanese have traditionally appreciated micro-seasons within these distinctive 4 seasons, and sensed subtle changes in 6 micro-seasons in each of 4 seasons. So we have 24 seasons.
Wow, okay, that's hard to keep up.
And our craftsmen and women, as well as designers, picked up certain theme out of one of these 24 seasons and expressed the change in the dial, for example. That's another unique example of our design philosophy.
And speaking of seasons, there's a lot of cherry blossoms right now, right?
Yes, most beautiful season in Japan.
So how do you maintain this Japanese DNA that you speak so passionately about in the Grand Seiko timepieces?
Grand Seiko's brand philosophy is the nature of time. And the word nature has 2 meanings. One is the essence of timekeeping, which has been carried on by our craftsmen and women, who we call takumi. And Japanese traditionally pursue something, perfection without any compromise. And that is expressed in our training, as well as providing enough education to all our craft people. And that is how we pursue the watchmaking at our brand.
Now, Mr. Naito, it's been 2 years of the pandemic. Incredible change. What is your forecast on how the luxury watch industry is going to develop and adjust to this new climate?
Yes, of course. During the past 2 years, we suffered from this pandemic and created an abnormal environment for our business. But throughout this 2-year period, we were able to develop new methods, or new ways of communicating with our customers digitally, which I think provided us with additional value in our business. But at the same time, of course, meeting with the customers face-to-face, that's most important in appreciating the true value of each product. And I think once this pandemic becomes under control, we will combine what we have acquired throughout the period, that is digital technology, together with the physical contact with our clients.
Sounds like a lot of learnings to come from this period. But just looking ahead, how does Grand Seiko plan to develop a stronger relationship with its customers? Tell us what this experience should look and feel like.
The brand, I think, used to be focused more on the functional value of a product or technology. But the time has now come for us to really appeal the luxury aspect of the brand. And for that to happen, communication is the key. We have so many brand stories to tell, and we are initiating various programs out of what we call a GS9 Club, that is the organization of Grand Seiko fans. And also, we would like to improve the quality of our retail network through picking up strategic partners who can convey the stories of our brand to the consumers.
Okay. Well, Mr. Naito, it seems like there's a lot that's on the plate for the company. Thank you so much for your time today during breakfast time. Thank you so
very much.
Now, we're not wasting any time. We're getting straight into our second CEO guest of the day, and that is Rolf Studer, co-CEO of Oris. Independence, a key part of the Oris spirit. How does this shape the company and its overall values?
Well, it actually lets us do what we want to do. It lets us pursue our dreams. It lets us apply common sense. Also, it just is a state of mind for us. It's a very important value to Oris. It defines everything that we do, and it guides us and lets us also be ourselves in what we do every day.
You speak with so much passion when you talk about this independence. There's something from Oris that we noticed. You tend to emphasize that things must make sense. Explain to us the thinking behind that and how it impacts your timepieces.
Well, that thinking of common sense, wanting things to make sense, that's exactly that. I'll give you an example. A tourbillon is a fantastic complication and it's wonderful for many brands. Just on the wrist, it does not really have an added functional value. That's why we do in aviation altimeters, in diving depth gauges, all mechanical. We do on a hand winder, we do 10 days power reserve. On an automatic watch, we do 5 days power reserve. That's the things we do. We always try to find functional added value in the piece that we do.
So sustainability, also a long part of Oris's DNA. What is the motivation behind this?
Well, we are an independent watch brand of the main centers of Swiss watchmaking, and as such, we always had to be very mindful with our resources. And when you're mindful of your resources, that's basically the most sustainable thing you can do, and that's why this really is in our hearts and is based in our thinking. And that's where our motivation to do all these things towards sustainability comes from.
I mean, of course, even at the Watches and Wonders, sustainability is going to be a key topic we're looking at. But looking at your company specifically, how do we see these environmental protection efforts visible in the brand?
Well, we have been declared climate neutral last year based on the date of 2019, which was the last fully active, globally active year. We have emitted 2,300 tons of carbon, and we will offset for that. That actually is the easy part, but we also have pledged to reduce 10% every year over the next 3 years. That's more difficult, but there's a plan behind it, a plan that we have worked out to get to that target. And we just follow that through and are glad to make a difference in that topic.
And speaking of future plans, what will be then the focus areas for Oris?
Well, we are independent. We will just continue to follow our dreams. We will continue to go our own way. Actually, our company purpose is to make people smile. And if we make our consumers smile, then I think we did the right thing.
Okay, one more surprise question. You said that things must make sense. Why don't you describe to us with your watch how that is reflected?
Well, this is the Pro Pilot X Caliber 400 that we launched yesterday, and it has a lot of details that are really cool. For example, the clasp here that looks like your clasp on the seat belt in an aviation, in the plane, and it's an aviation-themed watch. The salmon-colored dial that reminds me of all these traditional watches with salmon-colored dials that I love very much. Now we have here a take for 2022. It all makes sense together. It makes me smile, so I think we did a good job.
Don't give too much away. We're going to be taking a closer look at that later. So thank you so much for coming on. Take care. Okay, Patrick Punio, delighted to welcome you here, CEO of Ulysse Nardin. This year, the company started with a fairly big announcement of its return to being an independent brand. What's driving this?
Well, it's a project. Kering decided they would sell the brands, and I decided immediately that I would try to take over those two fantastic brands and historical brands. And it's really a privilege to be able to continue the centuries-old history of Ulysse Nardin and Girard-Perregaux. And what's very interesting, I think, for the first time ever in the watch industry, it's a management buyout. So it's really a team which is leading the takeover, and with a vision, very clear vision, and a long-term vision for the brand. And we come in a footstep of some entrepreneurs that have led the two brands, Mr. Macaluso and Mr. Schneider.
Definitely a milestone in the industry, of course. So now with this in mind, what does that long-term plan for the brand look like in this new chapter?
Well, it's a new chapter, and on the other hand, it's also the continuity, because it's the same team, because it's the same vision, and because we're fortunate also to have a momentum behind the brand. There is no reason why we should be changing that, and actually it's going to reinforce our objective. Our goal is really to make the brand flourish, to help them become who they are. And again, one brand which is more than 200 years old, another 175 years old. We're part of this very long story.
Can you be more specific about this? Within this story, within this next chapter, what storyline could we see?
Yeah, it's actually, first the two brands are very distinct. The fact that I'm running both businesses is completely distinct for the brand identity. And here we are actually, Ulysse Nardin is here at Watches and Wonder, and we're bringing in the same spirit, which is Ulysse Nardin is an assertive outsider as a brand, and also one of the most. We've got some of the most expert. The best expert in watchmaking and high horology in particular. So, for instance, we're bringing watches like the Free Case, which is a true innovation. And again, the spirit of innovation, the spirit of freedom and exploring has been at the very heart of the core values of Ulysse Nardin for centuries.
And still sticking, of course, to these original mission and values, of course. Now, we just heard from Rolf Studer from Oris in terms of sustainability. This is going to be a big topic throughout the whole show, and it's only fair that I also asked you the same. So how important or crucial is it for companies to take into account for this? And maybe more simply, how can sustainability actually be a driver for innovation?
I think it's a little bit, I think it's far too late to ask the question. I think it's not, I think it would be wrong to only answer the client expectation. I think we have to work earlier to do that. And at Ulysse Nardin, we've taken initiative for more than a decade already to do house cleaning. And then the issues we're facing are so gigantic that we need to almost slice the issues and be very specific in our action. So obviously we're doing a lot to reduce our environmental footprint here in Switzerland in the way we produce. And the watch is extremely sustainable by itself. And in the case of Ulysse Nardin, our horology manufacturer, we source probably 95% of what we need that we don't produce ourselves within a radius of maybe a couple of dozens kilometers around the manufacturer. How sustainable is that? That's just amazing. And now we also do other things. We have targeted action, and again, because the issues are very significant, we need to be extremely precise in what we do, and we're addressing the plastic in the sea. We were born from the sea at Ulysse Nardin, and we're addressing the issues of plastic. And at the same time, we're also using the same plastic to also bring new materials. We've been innovating in different parts. The movement itself in new materials, silicium in the history of the brand, and now we are also exploring new ways ourselves, and also in a spirit of partnership with some startups, with some companies we're helping to come up with new solutions. And finally, I think one important thing, and it's a view for us, that we need to do things almost as an open source. We be very transparent about the people we work with, because we want that to inspire also the rest of the industry.
Mr. Pugno, that's all the time we have for, because we have to stick to schedule. But thank you so much for joining us this morning. Take care. As you know, this is an exciting segment in our morning program every day. It's where we get a real hands-on look at all the watches themselves. Our team of experts are here to guide us through all the details. You will notice that they are familiar faces, because they will be joining us throughout the whole week. But just to remind you, and just to catch you up on their names, we have to my right Gianfranco Ritchell, Carson Chan, as well as John Lang to my left. We have 6 models to get through today. But before we start, yesterday was a big day. I saw everyone running around from all the booths. Carson, tell me, how much exercise did you get in?
Well, I achieved my 10,000 steps. Gianfranco?
And a few thousand handshakes for me.
Yeah, at least that, maybe even more.
Seems like a successful day, a lot of networking and interaction. And now we take a look at the models before us. And I think, Carson, I'm going to start with you. Why don't you walk us through first the Ferdinand Berthoud model? This has something that's quite unconventional.
Yeah, this is a Ferdinand Berthoud chronometry RSM. Now, the watch is very interesting. The brand itself is deeply connected to marine topic. So this is sort of like with a very accurate interpretation. If you look at the dial, you have the hour at 2 o'clock on a disc, and then on the upper side of the dial, you have the minute. In the center, it's a long, biggest hand, and it's actually the seconds hand. So why is it the seconds hand in the middle? Gianfranco can tell us.
Yeah, that's obvious. That's connected to the marine chronometer history, where during sailing a long time ago, we needed not only the accurate minutes and hours, but even the second. That's why it's a jumping second with a long, elegant hand. That's the most important on this kind of navigation instrument.
Yeah, great you mentioned the navigation instrument, Gianfranco. Maybe you can turn the watch over, because as well as the deadbeat second, I know there's the constant force escapement to keep really this really steady power supply going from the barrel to the gear train, which was of course very important with the marine chronometers, and equally important today if we want a very precise wristwatch.
Yeah.
I love watches like these. Now, the watch with a very unique time-telling front, but also a very interesting mechanism in the back. It's perfect for a watch geek like me.
It's once again what you were on the other side. But I think we will even take the loop, because you have to see the finishes. I can enjoy them, and I see how the hand polishing, mirror polishing are really, really sublimating the mechanic here.
Yeah, and the dial side, I mean, let's face it, with this brush technique on the beautiful solid 18-karat gold plate, it's a joy.
Hand engraved, of course.
So next up, we have the model from Grand Seiko. Carson,
Yes.
what should we be looking out for here?
Very interesting piece from Grand Seiko. The name of the model is Kodo. Now, the watch itself is, the Kodo, the name itself means heartbeat. Again, you could see this very interesting layout of the watch. You have the time-telling bit on the top of on the upper side of the dial, and you have the tourbillon on the lower part of the dial, and it is a skeletonized movement. Now, Gianfranco, you have it in your hand. We only were able to see it this morning. We were thinking, what material, what's the feel? Tell us a little bit about the case.
It's strange because it's nothing special in the weight-wise, but I discovered it's a combination between two opposite materials. Platinum 950, which is quite heavy, and titanium, which is quite light. And that's interesting, the combination. And if you have a closer look on the lugs here, they even skeleted out. So that makes a good matching between different shiny effect and yeah, platinum. It's even so prestigious and
Yeah, and
precious.
perhaps I'm wondering if you can even see that constant force escapement underneath the tourbillon at the back, perhaps.
Yes, in the
can show
center
us
here, in the
that.
same axe, like the tourbillon, we have the constant force system, which is also something unconventional.
Now, Grand Seiko is a brand that pays a lot of attention to details. For, again, I have to keep on, I hope nobody minds that we call this group watch geeks, because I
It's
really...
the key word of Carson for the day.
I really enjoy the hand craftsmanship, the hand finishing. To enjoy this watch, take a loop and go dive deep into the details.
Yeah. You will even see the small power reserve indicator at 8 o'clock here, which gives us how much power it's still at movement in wearing it. And look at the bracelet here.
Yeah.
You remember what it is?
So this
Joanna?
is, a calf strap, and it has a Japanese lacquer. So it gives a very beautiful textured appearance.
Yeah.
Really exquisite.
Now, Joanna,
Excellent.
I'm going to stay with you. I know there's so much to get through, right? Joanna, I'm going to stay with you because interesting model coming up, Louis Moinet. Why don't you walk us through that?
Sure. We have here the Louis Moinet Astronef, which is really something that comes to life on your wrist. So we have satellite tourbillon, double tourbillon. Actually, there are 6 elements that are in motion at the same time. We have the satellite tourbillons that are moving around the dial and even crossing over. We have also the tourbillons that are rotating on their own orbit, on their own carriage, and these are counterweighted with an 18-karat gold counterweight. So they're actually crossing every 3 minutes, 20 seconds on the dial, and this is allowed because we have a control center, let's say, in the center, and they're working at different levels.
That's very precise.
With a lot of bearing ball mechanism, which allows to reduce the friction and turn around this control tower. I love the name. It speaks loud about the scenery we have on this watch here.
Can you hold it up for 3 minutes and 20 seconds so we can see how it crosses over?
We don't have time for that, Carson.
Time, but it could be a good idea. Do you know how many times this tourbillon crosses the path every day? 432 times a day. You have this beautiful moment where they cross the fly.
You tell me you checked it before. You didn't just calculate it now. No, I don't believe it.
Believe me.
But I think you have to be quite quick with this piece because 8 lucky owners will be able to enjoy this mesmerizing piece. So,
Only.
Gianfranco, you need to be fast.
I love it. Oh, and I see the movement from this side too. Whoa, there's a big, voluminous sapphire box. It's beautiful, spectacular mechanism.
Now, Joanna, next one coming up is the Oris model, and I think with this one, we really need to take a look at the dial in particular.
Sure. So we have the Oris Pro Pilot X Caliber 400 here. We have the salmon dial. It's also available in a blue dial and a grey dial, but we have the salmon one this morning. It's really in this inspiration of the pilot, aviation, and with Oris, they always bring out the joy of mechanics. So it's a fun watch, although we have this like rugged touch, let's say. I think the case shows it quite well off, right, with the titanium.
And that's not a polished bracelet, but as you said, more rough, more brushed. That gives a completely different look than many other titanium cases.
I love the combination where you have a tool watch, very functional, very sporty, where you can wear anywhere, and then you have a very contrasting dial. This combination, it's very interesting for me.
Joy of life on your wrist, right?
Absolutely.
But may I show you this buckle here? Because buckles, we never speak about buckles, but this is really a specific system. We have to open at first the security and then it opens. It's a patented system on this watch here because you don't have to lose it, of course, doing your activity, and look at the beautiful mechanical movement moving on the backside.
I'm going to have to try that later.
Well, and the date at 6 o'clock, so it's good, well visible.
And you know,
for every day.
I saw that they really have confidence with this timepiece because we have a guarantee of 10 years.
Wow, that's a long
time.
Fantastic. Every day's watch for modern people.
Now, Gianfranco, last but not least, I want to turn to you. Thanks so much for displaying the watches up until now. I'm going to put you on the spot and let's take a look at the Ulysse Nardin piece.
Oh yes, oh yes. This
Where
watch
do we
here,
start?
it reminds me a lot of experiences. I remember when the CEO in 2001 demonstrated me a crazy watch called the Freak. And now we have the Freak S today as a novelty, which is inspired of this original model, which was the brand which didn't have any crown and no hands, but the mechanism, the movement, rotated over the dial to show the time in a spectacular way. As you can see, the movement itself shows you the time. That's really something surprising.
Now, 2001, when I was a teenager, I also saw the first, the first Freak, and it was similar to Gianfranco. My experience was, I was completely drawn to the watch dial, although there wasn't really a dial. There's no hand, no crown. How do you tell the time? So the attention is really attracted to the time-telling aspect of it.
Where in fact there are two balance wheels on the left and the right side connected, oh by the way, balance wheel in silicone, and connected in the middle with a vertical mechanism which combines them, right?
So let's not forget about this. Ulysse Nardin were also very pioneering with the use of silicone on watches, right? Back in 2001 as well. So it's great to see the silicone here being used again, and this, yeah, like you say, the wings of the rocket acting as the vertical differential, so that we have also the same amount of power going to both balance wheels in silicone.
And that over this aventurine dial, which is really inspired from the universe. So you have these turbines flying in the universe, and all that included in a case which doesn't have a crown. So you have to set the time with the bezel, and you have to wind the mechanical mechanism from the back side.
Seems like this one is one that really stays in people's memories.
Absolutely.
So Gianfranco, you have the honors of presenting the last piece, and that's from Vacheron Constantin.
Yes, something gracious and elegant, because we're speaking about Vacheron Constantin traditional perpetual calendar, ultra thin. As we know, as soon as we speak about complication, the watches are getting more voluminous, more thick, but here it's an ultra thin perpetual calendar, which doesn't only show you the time in minutes and hours, or hours and minutes, but also the longer period of our calendar. It means understanding the right length of every single month, 30, 31, one exception a year, the February, and one exception every 4 years, a perpetual calendar for the elegant lady.
Yes, definitely. So I love the way you explain the perpetual calendar, because ladies, of course, love a complication. This is a very useful complication. And we have the added advantage with the diamonds. So it's a perfect size as well, 36.5 for a lady's wrist. And actually we have 92 round cut diamonds. So we're wearing 1.2 carats on your wrist, as well as all of this technical.
And you don't need jewelry anymore.
Not this.
Have you tried this on your wrist already?
I have tried it. It's
Not only did she
very
try it.
dangerous.
Not only did she try it, I can tell you, she actually counted them. Make sure that all the diamonds
It
are
was
there.
a long night.
Well, she's just
94.
being precise.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the beautiful mother of pearl dial really gives this feminine touch to this watch. So again, I told you, it's a complication, but elegant as ultra thin. And by the way, you can even see here the beautiful mechanical movement.
Something you guys did not mention is the interchangeable strap. I think on a very beautiful, elegant piece like this, with this interchangeability, you can change the watch into making it an evening watch or a daily watch. Very versatile.
I think we could go on and on for this for the next half an hour, but unfortunately we have to cut it there. I'll see you all again, same place, same time tomorrow, and then we'll have a new collection up here.
Thank you.
With pleasure.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, we will hunt other novelties for tomorrow, right?
Well, 30,000 steps.
Yeah, you count it.
It's that time again where we head back into the salon to get a taste of all the action, and our reporter Tanya Koenig is right in the middle of all this.
Yes, that's right, Olivia. I'm right in the middle of where the action is about to start to happen as people are actually just arriving. So right now I'm standing in l'Espace Marque Historique. That's the area where we have all the brands that have been with Watches and Wonders for a very long time, or even since its inception. Now, the 14 brands here have been not only very creative with their products, but also with their booths. Let's take a look at Van Cleef and Arpels right there with a beautiful booth bringing springtime to the fair with a jardin, with a garden inside their booth. Then if we move a bit further down, we see IWC with a huge booth with a lot of black containers on top of each other, making the most out of the area. Now, I was saying people are actually just arriving. I have a Catherine here who arrived from London yesterday. Hi, Catherine.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. So I was wondering, you just arrived. What have you seen in this area that stood out in particular to you?
So far I haven't seen much. I've only been into Le Cultre behind me, but there they have this incredible celestial display on the ceiling that I absolutely loved, that completely matched with all the watches they're promoting this year as well. And then I'm very excited to go to Van Cleef behind you as well, because they have this very different kind of standout woodland fairy vibe going on. And then absolutely IWC as well, because again, it's so different, it's so contrasting with this bold industrial theme. So they're probably my top three.
Great. Well, Catherine, and I must say that you're not working for any of the brands that you actually just mentioned, right?
No, I'm not. I'm a writer. All good.
Thank you very much, Catherine. So that was one of the voices here at Watches and Wonders. So that's lots to see. I'll be back tomorrow to show you another area of the fair. And back to you, Olivia, in the studio.
Thank you so much, Tanya, for giving us all those insights and all the action every single day. Coming up, we bring you the panel of the day. Now, as you know, throughout the week, the Fondation is going to be hosting a panel discussion, and that's starting today at 1 p.m. Each one throwing a different spotlight, of course, on the watchmaking business and process. I'm joined by Pascal Rabsud, you might notice him also from yesterday, to get a taste of today's conversation. Now, the overarching topic for today is transparency, something that's really going to change the industry and how business is done. Can you share more with us?
Yes, Olivia. Yes, it's a new approach for our business because, you know, watchmaking is very shy, probably a bit secretive. It's probably due also to our DNA, the Swiss DNA. People are very discreet. They don't brag about what they do. They usually under-promise and over-deliver. So it's more, transparency is more commitment towards standing behind what they do. But it's also the way to get there. So it's not, probably not, nobody will never be 100% transparent, but it's actually probably more and more a commitment that we have to do towards our customers because we will be more and more measured towards these aspects as well.
And of course, without giving too much away so that we have everything, tell us what's going to be discussed in a nutshell.
Yes, well, how to embark in this journey that implies to make visible statements and progress reports. So it's a cultural change. So what does it imply in terms of supply chain, in terms of human dimensions? So it is really a huge change, a change of culture, and mankind don't like changes.
You speak about all this, and I know that you are a watch lover yourself. You're an insider of the space. How have you noticed this attitude from the maisons towards adopting more transparency?
It is coming.
Yes.
It has taken a lot of time, and I state it here again. Our goal to embark on a 1.5 degrees by 2030 is a very urgent matter. It lies in front of us for decades, but mankind has been very slow to embark. Probably myself, I've seen things change, I mean visibly change towards 2018 maybe, but the commitments of the brands and groups have probably been made 6, 8 or 10 years before. So
it takes time, 2030 is tomorrow, and the clock is ticking.
Well, Pascal, we know that the clock is ticking. Thanks so much for sharing your insider knowledge, and we'll see you back again here tomorrow. And I know where you'll be at 1 p.m. today.
Yes, I will.
So there you have it. That's your morning news wrap-up of day 2 of Watches and Wonders. There's still plenty more to come later today, so make sure to check out all the content across the platforms. Big keynotes to look forward to. Grand Seiko, Hublot, Ressence, Van Cleef & Arpels, Ashmoser and Company, as well as Mont Blanc. And of course, don't miss our late show. That's going to be at 6:30 p.m. with our reporter, Ariane Okorta, and she'll be bringing you all the highlights from the day. I'll be back here tomorrow morning, same place, same time, to share a preview of what's to come. I'm Olivia Chang. Take care and see you very soon.